It's Our Story. Stephen Brown, Louisville, Kentucky.
One of my jobs at WID one time was that I was co-teaching a class at San Francisco State. And I didn't have to go very often. I went a few times a semester. But one of my jobs once a semester was to get Ed to class, to bring him and for Ed to talk about his experiences. And so we also videotaped him. And the main purpose for doing that was if any students didn't make it that day for class, they could then later watch the videotape. So one of the things that happened is we brought Ed in one day and he did his thing. And one of the students wasn't there. So at the next class that I was at, I asked her if she'd seen the videotape, and she said yes. And so the way she saw it was she was alone in a room watching the tape. Nobody with her. And I asked her what she thought about what Ed had to say, and her response was, first I laughed, then I cried, then I stood up and applauded. Now, that's pretty powerful when you think she's in a room by herself watching a videotape with nobody else is around, and he had that kind of impact on her. So Ed was like that. And another thing about Ed is that he always introduced his attendants and talked about how if it weren't for his attendants, the people who were providing him with things like dressing him and feeding him and driving him, that if it weren't for them, he wouldn't be there in front of an audience. So he always talked about that. And the other thing I have to say about Ed is that he was really good at talking about how to use anger to not to just be angry and then be depressed, or to be angry and throw things, but to be angry and to fuel the fire for change. And he always talked about how it was really good to have that anger as long as you channeled it into something that that led to change. It wasn't good if you internalized it and it ate you up. So those were some things about Ed. Toward the end of my knowing Ed, which was toward the end of his life, he was starting to do, he had done international traveling, but he was starting to do a lot more international traveling. And WID, of course, was the World Institute on Disability. And one of the things that we in this country did not so well maybe in the beginning of the disability rights and independent living movement was we thought we had a lot to teach other people. But and we did in some ways, but one of the things that WID emphasized is that we also had a lot to learn from other countries. So one of the funny stories about Ed is that he went to Russia toward the end of his life. And that was apparently a very interesting experience because he was literally the only person in the country with a motorized wheelchair. You know, people had disabilities and have disabilities in Russia, but they didn't have motorized chairs. So, you know, a lot of people came and asked him about the chair, but one woman came and offered to heal him. So Ed being Ed, he didn't say what I might have done, which is go away. He said, well, okay, but don't heal me too much because then I want to have a job. So, you know, it's Russia, right? And it's cold and they all have these big coats on, and Ed has, I'm sure, because he got cold fairly easily, had a lot of coats and other things, coverings on. And this lady leaned over toward him to put her hands on him and heal him, and she hit his joystick. And off they went. So, you know, here she's trying to heal him, and they go off riding in wherever they were, the park, I think, until they figured out what to do. So I think he educated her a little bit about himself and about disability as that was happening.
The It's Our Story project is a national effort to make disability history public and accessible. Visit us at www.itsourstory.org or on the It's Our Story project YouTube channel.